I woke up in my own house and found my neighbor swimming in my pool, even though I had just built a tall fence to keep her out. She looked at me, smirked, and said this neighborhood had gone downhill since I moved in. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about a pool at all. It was about trying to make me feel like a stranger in my own home. My name is Marcus. I am an architect. I worked hard for years to buy this place, a modest home with a backyard pool, the kind of space I always dreamed of. I wanted peace weekends, grilling with friends, a place where I could breathe. And at first it was that, until I met Carol. She lived next door, late 50s, always with that sour look on her face like the world owed her something. She never once said hello when I moved in. She left her trash bins blocking the sidewalk, glared at my guests, made little passive-aggressive moves that told me loud and clear she didn't want me here. But I ignored it because I thought she was just one of those difficult neighbors you learn to live with. Then came that Saturday afternoon. Sun was shining ribs, sizzling on the grill, and out of nowhere she came through the oleander bushes in a hot pink swimsuit, acting like she owned the place. "The gate's broken, it's so hot today," she said, dripping fake sweetness, then slid right into my pool like it was hers. I froze. My mom raised me to be polite, so I said nothing, but inside it felt wrong. It felt like she crossed a line. The very next day she did it again. No excuses this time. Just marched in new swimsuit and started swimming. I was on a work call, had to mute myself just to tell her, "Carol, you can't just use my pool whenever you want." She smirked. "Oh, please, it's just water. Don't be so dramatic." That hit me hard. It wasn't just arrogance, it was entitlement. She looked at me like I didn't matter, like my voice, my rules, my home weren't real. That night I sat in silence, fuming. It wasn't about chlorine or a swim, it was about respect. About how she saw me, a young black man she thought she could walk over. I couldn't let it keep happening, so I hired a contractor and built a tall wooden fence, a fortress. When it was done, I felt relief, like I finally had my ground back. But the very next morning I heard splashing. My blood turned cold. I ran outside, and there she was, inside my locked fenced yard, swimming. She had climbed over. When I told her to get out, she smiled coldly and said, "My ex-husband warned me the neighborhood was going downhill." I guess he was right. I knew exactly what she meant. The racism that had been quiet and passive before was now shouted in my face. I wanted to explode. I wanted to drag her out of that water. But deep down I knew that's what she wanted to bait me to flip the script to play the victim. I walked back inside, fists shaking, heart pounding, feeling helpless in my own damn house. I sat there thinking maybe I should just give up. Maybe I was making too much of it. Was I wrong? Was I the problem? Those thoughts haunted me. For a moment I almost believed them. But then I remembered what my mom used to say, "Don't fight hate with hate. The best revenge is living well." So instead of screaming, I baked a lemon meringue pie, my mother's recipe. I set it on the patio table by the pool without saying a word and went back inside. Carol froze mid-swim, staring at the pie like it was a bomb. She climbed out, dripping wet, circled it, suspiciously muttered to herself, then stormed back over the fence. For the first time she looked rattled. The next day she came again, not in a swimsuit, but in shorts, pretending to be casual. She stared at that pie, then at me, sitting calmly with my coffee. "What's the pie for?" she asked. I smiled and said I just felt like baking. Her face twisted. She wanted me angry. Instead, she got calm, unbothered. It drove her insane. She hissed, "You're trying to intimidate me." I laughed. "With a pie." "Do you want a slice?" That offer crushed her. She stormed off, and I realized her power came from conflict. Take that away, and she had nothing. But she didn't stop. A day later, she left a store-bought chocolate cake on my porch with a note. "It's better than yours." I laughed out loud. She was trying to compete in a war I wasn't fighting. But while she obsessed, she kept climbing through the oleanders to get to my yard, and eventually the bushes started breaking. One day she stood at the fence holding a snapped branch, staring at the damage she caused, realizing her own hatred was destroying her property. For once her face wasn't smug, it was horrified. She tried to twist it, though. I found a note taped to my pool. "My landscaper says you ruined my bushes. You're disgusting." I couldn't believe it. She wasn't just delusional, she was rewriting reality, painting me as the villain. That night I felt the old helplessness return. I sat at my desk, journal open, writing it all down just to keep my sanity. But when I looked outside later, I saw something new, a single white rose thorns trimmed off left by the fence. Was it an apology? A surrender? Maybe both. I didn't take it. I called landscapers instead and redesigned my entire front yard, native flower stone paths, a garden that drew the whole neighborhood in. Kids came to admire it. Neighbors stopped to chat. Even the mailman grabbed cookies at a little gathering I hosted. Meanwhile, Carol stood across the street alone, watching everyone in my yard, while hers sat empty. She was the outsider now, isolated by her own hate. And then came the black sedan. A well-dressed man stepped out, a lawyer. He handed her a folder, a business card, said a few words, and left. Her face drained of color. Days later, a moving truck pulled up. I watched as her furniture, her boxes, her life were carried out. She stood in the doorway, no longer smug, no longer defiant, just small, tired, defeated. Our eyes met, and for the first time I saw no hatred, just exhaustion. That night I saw her on her front steps holding a photograph, crying silently. I walked over and sat a few feet away. She whispered, "They're taking the house." It was all a lie. My ex-husband left me with debt, second mortgages. I never even owned this place anymore. Her voice cracked. "I saw your pool, your friends, your life. I had nothing. I was so angry at you for having what I lost. I'm sorry." I sat there in silence. The woman who invaded my pool, hurled racist remarks, and tried to break me down wasn't a monster after all. She was broken, drowning in her own bitterness, lashing out at the nearest target. Me. And in the end she lost, not because I destroyed her, but because her own hate did. Hate always collapses under its own weight.